Hey guys, today we're going to be doing a little experiment on one of my favorite Japanese foods, pork katsu. If you don't know what it is, it's basically a deep fried pork loin or cutlet that is breaded in panko crumbs, which makes it so delicious and crispy and light. However, it usually uses a lot of oil. So I'm going to make two today. The first one is going to be that traditional method in deep frying. The second is going to be to see whether I can eliminate a lot of that oil and make it a little healthier. So I'm going to try and bake it in the oven and we'll see if it turns out just as delicious. So let's get started. So what I have here is very typical for this dish, which is a big hunk of boneless pork loin chop. I'm going to slice it to 3 much thinner pieces to minimize on our cooking time. And I'm going to season each side with just salt and black pepper. And these 3 plates I have in front of me, the first is potato starch, which I actually prefer instead of flour because it sticks better and it's used a lot in Japanese cooking. The second is low-fat milk, and the third are those panko crumbs. So I'm first going to the potato starch. You can use cornstarch or flour. I'm going to the milk, and then I'm going to put it into the panko crumbs. For the best results, I would repeat a couple of those steps a couple of times. So you can see I'm going back into the milk after the panko and then back for another coating of panko. We're going to fry 2 of these pieces and bake the third. So I let this oil heat up so it's really hot and there's a lot of it. This is the piece that we're baking. I'm going to start out 375 degrees for about 10 minutes. After about 4 minutes, you can turn them over and just take a quick check. This is what they should look like. Super nice and brown already. This is perfect for the frying portion. And after another 4-ish, 5 minutes on each side, they're ready to go. Meanwhile, after letting this piece cook through a little bit, I'm going to crank the heat up to 420 degrees for another 10 to 15 minutes. And I'm making a sauce similar to tonkatsu from soy sauce, mirin, and honey. So that's the baking piece next to these 2 fried pieces. So you can see it actually breaded really, really nicely and got crispy. I'm just gonna slice it up. Guys, our experiment was a success. They both turned out really, really well. Here I have it on a bed of arugula with some ginger and some homemade tonkatsu sauce. The only thing about the one with the oven is that although it does turn out really, really crispy, it just takes more time. It took about 20 minutes to cook in there, so it just boils down to your personal preference, whether or not you have the time to use the baking method or whether or not you want to just really quickly deep fry your katsu in oil. I also forgot to mention another great thing about this recipe is that it's eggless. So if you're egg intolerant or if you just want to see whether you can use another binding agent, we used low-fat milk and it still came out perfectly crispy and there was no panko just flaking off in the pan. So you can use milk and it'll work just as well. So if you guys enjoyed this, like and subscribe.